For tuning in this episode of Channel Surfing. Today we're going to talk about cost of boat ownership. What does it cost to own an R27 outboard? We've got almost 5 years now we've owned Channel Surfing. So we've got detailed fuel logs, and we've got guest moorage fees, and bottom paint expenses, insurance, Coast Guard documentation, and for the boat. We're going to go over all of that in this presentation. So without any further ado, let's get started.
Close your eyes, hear the voice within, calling this heavy.
So in this video, we're going to talk about the purchase price of the boat. We did buy Channel Surfing brand new, and we're going to go over state registration, and well, I'm not going to cover all 50 states, but I'll tell you what I know, and then U.S. Coast Guard documentation, which does affect all states. Insurance, what's insurance going to run annually on the boat? Moorage versus trailing, very big decision to make on how you plan to keep and store the boat. Fuel costs, everybody always wonders about fuel because, we're used to our cars that get, 20, 30 miles per gallon, and boats get substantially less than that. So what's that bill going to run? Guest moorage, what does it actually cost to spend the night at a marina somewhere? And then we're going to talk about some maintenance costs. So the boat in specific we're talking about is Channel Surfing. She's a 2021 R27 outboard. She's a 27-foot boat. That's at the waterline. The LOA length overall is 32 foot with the motor down. Technically, she's like 31 and a half. I round up and call it 32. With the motor up, she's just short of 36 foot. It's 35 and a half foot, something like that roughly. And those are important when we get into moorage. We'll get into that here in a minute. The approximate weight of the boat is 9,000 pounds. We purchased Channel Surfing brand new in June of 2020. We were actually the second boat built for the model year 2021. Our boating waters are Pacific Northwest, San Juan Islands, British Columbia, and Southeast Alaska, all the way up to Glacier Bay. So introductions real quick with who I am. So I get a lot of comments from folks. They watch our other videos and they see the dolphins in the window. So I wanted to address that real quick. So my name is Martin. I'm the captain of Channel Surfing, and there's my co-captain Lazina pictured there. So I spent 8 years in the Navy. Most of my time was on the USS Georgia, one of the ballistic missile submarines out of Bangor. I was in Auxiliary Division, so as a mechanic, so also known as A-Gang for all you veterans out there. So my responsibilities on the boat was I dealt with 3,000-pound hydraulics, 4,500-pound air systems, 700-pound air systems, 125-pound air systems, a lot of pneumatics, atmosphere control, oxygen generation, CO2 carbon dioxide removal. What else did I do? Ran and operated the diesel engine, the ballast tanks. If it was mechanical and it wasn't related directly to the propulsion with the nuclear reactor on board, I was responsible for it. So that's my background. So the R27 outboard pricing news. So every year I get on this boat show, and it's the Seattle Boat Show specifically, and I take photographs of the price sheet, basically, right, the sticker. So this is every other year, 2020, 2022, 2024 years. They're only doing the LEs now, the luxury editions. They've discontinued the Northwest editions. The LEs come with air conditioner and lithium batteries, which is a really nice upgrade. Now they also have reverse cycle heat for those cold mornings, right? But the prices keep going up, as with everything. So I'll let you guys figure out the loan and the interest rate and the down payment and all that stuff. And this is usually a pretty easy calculation to figure out on boat ownership with what this is going to run. So we'll talk about U.S. Coast Guard documentation. So you have state registration and you have U.S. Coast Guard documentation. So the advantages of Coast Guard documentation is you won't get a state title because the Coast Guard, which is federal, is going to issue the title for the boat. And because of that, then the state won't issue you any state decal. There's no numbers to go in the front of the boat. So we documented Channel Surfing primarily for vanity reasons. I hate the, more state it's a WN number gets put on the front of the boat. I just don't like the numbers. I think it detracts from the look of the boat. Overall, I actually paid a company to do all the paperwork for me as part of the purchase, and I was like $700-800. And then I just waited for my documentation number to come in. So as you see, you put your name on the side of the boat, you put your name on the back of the boat, and then you get a plaque pictured there, with a number. It's got to be affixed to a bulkhead. It can't be attached to a door. It's something that's removable. So all Ranger tugs actually qualify for documentation. Even the Ranger Tug 23 qualifies for Coast Guard documentation. It doesn't get you out of state taxes. Washington State specifically is still going to have their hand out. So you're still going to pay your state taxes. Coast Guard registration adds an extra $28 a year, and they actually have it where you can pay for it 5 years at a time to make that easier. So it's not too expensive year over year once you have it. For Washington State registration, I remember when the boat was brand new, it was right around $1,000 every year. Obviously, as the boat depreciates, the amount gets less and less. I'm down to like 600-ish. This is what I pay about a year now, 4.5, 5 years in. Also, consider registering in multiple states. So Washington State, we've got a really nice backyard for a waterway. For cruising intercoastal, lots of anchorages, lots of marinas and stuff, right? So, but there's also Washington State rules that say how long you can have your boat in Washington. So if you're like in Oregon and you want to trail your boat into Washington and enjoy our waterways, you can't have your boat in our state boating for more than 3 months. Other than that, then they'll let you extend it. You can, for 3 times for a 30-day extension, which gets you to 6 months. For basically like a permit to stay in the state. Outside of that, it is possible to register a boat in multiple states depending how long you plan to keep the boat there. Another thing too is, for those that are watching this that are outside of the state of Washington with where you're going to boat, there was one person I was talking to, and I forget the state they were in, but I looked it up on their own state website, and if the boat was Coast Guard documented, there was no state tax to pay. Right, but so check your state with what the with what your state registration requirements are, with and without a U.S. Coast Guard documentation. So then you need to get insurance. So the thing with getting insurance for the boat, I recommend you get insurance 30 days before delivery. That's what we did on channel surfing. It's well worth it. That way, if anything happens to the boat, when anybody's transferring the boat around, moving the boat, whatever, the boat's covered and insured. I recommend $1 million in liability, and that's going to come probably from most marinas. $2 million is probably better. The way to figure that number out is to call around where you plan to store the boat and what marinas, and ask them what they require. Right, and then also the boundaries where you plan to boat in. Right, make sure your insurance covers the waterways and that you plan to operate the boat within. In the Pacific Northwest, the generic insurance policy is going to lock you into this boundary here, which gives you almost 400 miles of waterway to enjoy, which is an enormous amount of waterway. Let's talk about liability insurance here for just a minute. So why do you need a $1 or $2 million liability insurance? That seems kind of steep, right? Well, actually, this is the Nor'Wester. We were actually anchored right around the corner when she ran aground and issued the Mayday. We were first responders on the scene to the sinking of the Nor'Wester. And what is liability? What happens in a situation like this? The boat runs aground, rips the keel off. It's sitting on the bottom. Tide's coming in. There's diesel fuel on board. There's a black water tank on board. You've got to protect the environment from all of that, right? So usually Towboat US will come out and they'll empty the tanks. They'll put a diver overboard. They'll put a boom around it. They'll drop anchors, keep the boat floating away. Then the insurance company is going to get involved, and you want the insurance company to pull the boat out of the water. That's a good question to ask your insurance company is, if your boat was sunk, would they pull it out of the water? Not all policies would do that. It depends on the type of boat, the type of insurance policy and stuff you get. Because all of this stuff is really expensive otherwise. So it's important that you have insurance to cover that. So on the boundaries, from here to Glacier Bay and back is 1,300 miles. This is an enormous waterway. On an insurance policy that I have, this is the excerpt right out of the packet. I just need to stay within 75 miles of shore, which is perfect for the type of boating that we do and where we want to go and stuff. So, and it's also 75 miles is a good number for the fuel tank that's on the boat too. So I don't really want to be any further than that offshore. Talk about moorage, covered versus uncovered slips. So Port of Everett Marina, their 2025 rates, and open, so uncovered slip, $429 a month for, that's a 32-foot slip. Covered would be $665. Power in both these is metered, so you're going to have a monthly electric bill. Usually it's pretty small. In the wintertime, you run electric space heaters and stuff. It'll add up. So I'll give you an example. We had a covered slip at Everett for 3.5 years. And we were paying the $665. Actually, it was, I want to say it was like 600-ish. And I was paying right at $700. By the time they add on the taxes, the fees, some environmental stuff, and the electric bill, it easily adds, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 bucks to the bill. So the boat, the R27 outboard is going to require a 32-foot or a 36-foot slip, depending on the marina that you pick. So here's the deal, and I'm going to pick on Port of Everett and Cap Sandy Marina. Lemon Drop is up at Cap Sandy, and channel surfing was moored at Port of Everett for several years. So Port of Everett measures the boat with the engines down. So 32-foot, an R27 will fit. They allow you to kick the engines up out of the water and hang over a bit because their fairways are wider. Cap Sandy has narrower fairways, and they won't let you do that. So if you want to keep your boat with the engine up in Cap Sandy, then you have to be in a 36-foot slip, which is what Lemon Drop is in. So those are good questions to ask, the marina when you're talking to them. And then availability of slips too. One of the things I like about the R27 is that it is 32-foot overall. It's relatively easy to get moorage for 32-foot and under. When you get above 32-foot, the wait lists turn into 6 months to a year to 2 years, and you're looking for a 36 or a 42 or something like that, a much larger slip. Another thing to consider is yacht club moorage, and we're going to talk about that in just a sec. Your anodes, to consider that being in the water, you're going to have to replace your anodes at least annually, sometimes twice a year, depending. Bottom paint, covered versus uncovered, right? So if you're in an uncovered slip, the sunshine is going to beat down on the waterline all around your boat, and it's going to help marine growth. If you're in a covered slip, then sunshine can't hit the waterline, and the only growth you're really going to see on your boat is on the stern of the boat, because it's going to catch either the morning or the evening sunshine, depending which way it's facing. And usually that's only in I'd say like August time frame when I would really see that. But it comes off really easy and doesn't really affect the bottom paint. So your bottom paint will last longer with a covered slip than in an uncovered slip. Also, I'd like to point out that it's easier to winterize the boat if it's in saltwater, because the saltwater we're in, here in the Pacific Northwest, it stays about 42 to 45 degrees year round. Even in the wintertime when it freezes, I've seen a 1/4 inch of ice on the top of the marina in Everett where we couldn't move the boats. But remember, we're also at the mouth of the Snohomish River, so that's fresh water coming down mixing, and that'll freeze on top. But what makes it easier to winterize is anything that's within 6 inches above the waterline or lower won't freeze, because you're sitting in a bath of warm water that's above freezing. So that means your black water tank, your freshwater tank, water in the boat, none of that's going to freeze if you're in the water through the winter. So you only have to worry about anything that's above the waterline freezing potentially. So yacht club moorage, let's talk about that briefly as an alternative to like a normal marina like Cap Sandy or Port of Everett. So yacht clubs, they actually have their own marinas. So we went down to the Daffodil Festival that the Tacoma Yacht Club hosts every year. Fantastic time, fun event. All right, but yacht clubs have their own marinas, and of course they require membership to be in those marinas. Generally speaking, moorage in a yacht club is going to be less expensive, usually substantially, than going to a conventional marina. So I encourage you to look at like Bremerton Yacht Club, Tacoma Yacht Club, the Seattle Yacht Club. There's tons of yacht clubs in the Pacific Northwest that have marinas. Now, not all yacht clubs have a marina, right? So you got to shop them that way. And then in addition to monthly moorage at these yacht clubs, some of them have outstations, which is dock space at some other location for you to go visit. Most of the outstations are free or maybe $5 a night for power. Reciprocal moorage, any yacht club you join, you're going to get reciprocal moorage. That varies from yacht club to yacht club with what agreements they have between them. If you go to yachtdestinations.org, you can see all the yacht clubs, where they're at, where they're located, and you can read all the rules on reciprocals with reciprocal moorage is always first come, first serve, no reservations, and it's either free, it's $5, a night, maybe 10 or 15 if there's power, but it's a substantially reduced rate for moorage than paying guest marina rates. And some yacht clubs also have a clubhouse. The Coma Yacht Club has a really nice clubhouse, and that's for like other kind of events that the yacht clubs would run. So highly encourage you to check out yacht clubs for marinas and stuff for moorage as well. And just having the boat. A yacht club is fun to be a part of. Hang out with other boaters and learn stuff from each other. So dry dock at Dagmar's, that's where we keep channel surfing now. So I pay $321 a month. That's the new rates that go into effect this May. They're going up a little bit. And Dagmar's bases your moorage, because they're out of the water, they base it on 27 feet, not 32. Unlimited launch and retrievals, it's their boat ramp. They're the only ones using it, and the forklifts have right-of-way, which is awesome. Power's included, and it's not metered, but it's only 10 amps at 120 volts. For the R27 outboard, that's plenty. I can run a couple space heaters, keep the battery chargers topped off, plenty of power for all that. However, the boat is fully out of the water, so winterizing, it's the same as is on a trailer. I've got to prepare for the boat freezing top to bottom, so I have to worry about the black water tank and the freshwater tank, and winterize those accordingly. Bottom paint is optional. That's the cost you would save with a moorage such as this. There's a picture there. That's actually Kevin's boat, who owns Custom Premier Ceramic Coating. He's actually parked right next to me at Dagmar's. And his boat, he's got an R25 with no bottom paint, because he trailers his boat and leaves it over here for easy access to it. And, we don't have a trailer, so we keep it at Dagmar's. And I do have bottom paint because I started out in a wet slip at Port of Everett, but my bottom paint will last years at this point. Right. And also another benefit is there's no galvanic corrosion when you're stored out of the water like this, so my anodes probably will last forever or close to it. Right. So if you want more information on Dagmar's, just go to our YouTube channel and search for Dagmar's. There's several videos that we've published about how Dagmar's operates and stuff over here. It's a pretty unique operation they have. And talk about trailering. So trailering versus moorage. So we don't own a trailer. However, I have friends that own a trailer, and I've trailered channel surfing twice, just to get her up to a Yamaha dealer for some warranty work. We actually have found that we use our boat a lot more because we don't have a trailer. There's no hassle of hitching the boat, towing it where we want to. But, everybody boats differently, and it depends which part of the world you're in, right? I'm fortunate that we've got such a large waterway in our backyard, but not everybody does. So anyway, with a trailer, I've owned a trailer before. Our last boat was a trailerable boat, and we kept it in our, front of our house. So trailer is going to bring with it maintenance. Your brakes, your wheel bearings, your tires are going to have to be replaced, but those don't happen every year. So I get asked this question a lot. If you're towing the R27 outboard, what do you need for a tow vehicle? So figure the boat's going to be about 11,000 pounds of a tow weight. That's the boat plus the trailer together. You'll want 1,000 pounds tongue weight. Plan on that. A 3/4 ton truck is recommended to tow the boat. That's actually my pickup there. It's a 1/2 ton, but she's rated to tow 10,500 pounds. So and when the 2 times I've towed it, I didn't tow it very far, about 45, 50 miles. I'm not going over mountains, and it's not something I normally do. I wouldn't want to push my luck with a 1/2 ton pickup if I bought the boat as a trailer. Like I said, we didn't buy channel surfing to be a trailerable boat. And also, if you do decide to trailer the boat, there's launch fees. And if I remember right, Port of Everett's got like a 12 or 13 lane boat ramp. It's one of the largest on the West Coast, and the boat ramp fees are like $15 to launch the boat. That includes launch and retrieval, and then I think it's like $8 or $10 a night as well for storage of your truck and trailer while you're out boating. So that does add to the cost of boating too if you're trailering. So if you're not trailing, you got to do haul outs, and you need a haul out at least annually to do engine maintenance, because you can't work on the lower unit of the outboard with the boat in the water. So you can pay a haul out. Let's say you're in a wet slip. So Port of Everett, they're $352 for a round trip. That means they pull it out on the sling. That's a picture there of the Port of Everett of channel surfing on a sling. And then it's $48 to $72 a day, which is their yard rate. That's based on boating season or off season. They change the rates there. So every day you're in the yard, you're paying another $48 or another $72. Right. So you want to get, you want to schedule your haul out. You want to get the work done and get the boat back in the water. Dagmars, it's included no cost. They launch and retrieve your boat. That's your haul out effectively. There's no extra fee for any of that. So when you're shopping around, for marinas and stuff, ask them what their rates and stuff are for your haul outs, because you'll need to do a haul out at least annually, change your zincs and whatnot, and to get your engine maintenance done.
Another way to support us is go to channelsurfingcreations.com. I have all kinds of boat swag that I do. I have an embroidery machine, a laser engraver for tumblers, wine tumblers, whatever you want, coffee mugs. Contact me. There's a spot to contact me there, and we can work together to create what you want.
It's have personalities, and they're kind of fun. So it's nice to have things on the boat, with your boat name on it, as well as sweatshirts and hand towels and hats and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. All these items pictured Lazina's made. It doesn't come with a catch fish guarantee. I leave that up to you other boaters out there. But this is the photograph that started all. It was a picture of us leaving Roach Harbor that a buddy of mine, Mike, on a R31 took, and Lazina wanted it on the back of a sweatshirt, so she figured out how to do it, and she had a single needle machine at that point.
It took 3 hours and 20 minutes to do that boat on the back of that jacket. Yeah. That one was actually done on that machine.
Yeah. And now she's got a 10 needle machine, so it's much faster, and it's pretty cool to watch. That thing, that 10 needle machine is like a CNC machine for embroidery. It's pretty cool. So again, channelsurfingcreations.com. Great way to show support for all the work we do on our YouTube channel and stuff. So now let's get into fuel costs. So I've got the complete fuel logs available on Patreon. It's 4.5 years worth on channel surfing. So here's the highlights, year-over-year summary for gallons per hour, average miles per gallon, average cost of gallons of gas. You can see how that fluctuates. And ironically, I've got 2 years worth of the 3-blade, which is the factory Yamaha prop the boat comes with. I've got 2 years worth with the PowerTech offshore 4-blade prop that I ran. That's the prop we took to Alaska. And in 2023, we took the boat all the way up to Glacier Bay and back. That was an awesome trip. That's why the number is so high there. We'll get into that in just a sec. And then I just upgraded to a 5-blade prop as well. If you're interested in the prop performance stuff, with what difference does the prop make and why have I changed, go ahead and click right here and look at our prop video. We just released that. Really informative on the how much impact the prop has on the boat. And again, the complete fuel logs for channel surfing, if you're interested, year over year, available up on our Patreon site. So in our Southeast last trip, I get asked this question a lot: what's a trip like that cost? How much time? What's the distance, and so forth? So I threw this slide in for you. We have lots of videos on our YouTube channel all about our Alaska trips. You can see what what it's like to experience that. It's 2,600 miles round trip. We put 182 hours on the engine and spent 55 days. Now, of the 55, there was 10 days I spent working from the boat, so I really could have done the trip in 45 days, maybe a little bit less. All right, our average travel day was between 90 and 135 miles. It was about 6 hours a day of driving. And why go to Southeast Alaska? We bought channel surfing with the sole intention of taking her all the way to Glacier Bay. We were just waiting for COVID to pass, so we could make sure that we could get the gas stations were open and wouldn't send us away. Southeast Alaska is absolutely gorgeous, fantastic waterway. we're going back as many times as we can figure out how to afford it to get back to Alaska. And what did I spend on fuel? So generally speaking, I do on a long trip like this, I do 2/3 of a tank to get there and a third reserve. That's what I try and do. The prop I had was PowerTech's offshore 4-blade prop. It is not a fuel efficient prop. It's got a lot of other good benefits, but fuel efficiency is not one of them. And of course, the year that we decided to go was 2023. We also happened to be one of the most expensive years for the cost of gallon per gas. And a lot of these remote places, gas is more expensive than normal because of how remote these places are. Things like Bartlett Cove and Glacier Bay, they only get fuel by barge and it comes in there. The highest price and lowest price gas we paid, $7.25 per gallon at Shearwater, $4.38 in Juneau was the cheapest. But altogether, it was just over 2,000 gallons of fuel that I burned for almost $12,000. Now, what I'm looking to do, upgrade the prop to a PowerTech 5-blade modified channel surveying edition. This is the one you're going to go check out that prop video. Click right here. It talks about this. This just got released. It's a brand new product, and it made a big difference on fuel efficiency. So this is when I came back from Alaska, I was like, I got to figure out how to extend the range between the fuel docks so I don't have to slow boat as much. Guest Moorage, talk about that. So for the R27 outboard, when you call and make reservations at a marina for Moorage, the boat's 32 foot. You could get away and say it's 31 foot because technically it's 31.5 foot. If you want to round up, round down, it's not 27 foot. A marina is selling linear moorage. So it's how long is the actual boat, not how long the manufacturer says it is, because all boats are longer than the length of what the manufacturer says it is. Right, so it's, if I told a marina that I was 27 foot and I showed up, 5 feet of my boat isn't going to fit with where they put me. All right, they would turn you away and you'd lose your reservation for that night. So 32 foot is what I tell the marinas that I am, and most of them in the Pacific Northwest know what the R27s are because they're pretty common. So what's it cost to spend a night on the dock? Generally speaking, $1.70 a foot, so call it $55 a night, is very common. Some of the more expensive, like resorts like Roach Harbor, are going to be $2.50 a foot, maybe a little more expensive. You're talking $80 plus a night at some marinas. Power is often extra, could be anywhere from $3 to $10 a night for 30 amp service. So oftentimes with the solar upgrades I've got to the boat, if they're charging for power, I usually will just not plug in and just operate the boat normally off of battery and solar. On our Southeast Alaska trip, I was pleasantly surprised that the moorage all through Southeast Alaska was actually less expensive. On average, it was $32 a night, and that included power. They charged extra for power, but at $32 a night, I was like, I'll just pay and plug in. British Columbia averaged about $50 a night with power. If you go out and anchor, anchoring is free. There's no charge for anchoring. And then there's also marine state parks. So this photograph's from Ewing Cove and Susha Island. So in the state of Washington, we have a lot of marine parks. Susha Island is an entire marine park. You've got Stewart Island with Prevost Harbor on the north side, and you got Reed Harbor on the south. These marine parks are nice to go to. You can, take a dinghy to shore and hike around, and stuff. And they charge a fee, obviously, for them. There's also an annual state pass. I usually buy the annual state pass for channel surfing. It runs about $150 a year, and it's calendar year, January to December. So you don't want to buy one in November, for example. Wait till January for that. So the anodes on the boat, fortunately, the R27 outboard does not have a lot of anodes. They are inexpensive. Change them every 6 months. You might be able to get by with a year on them. Just check them periodically. The trim tabs are not bonded, but the engine transom bracket is, as well as the engine trim, which is the one above the propeller. All right. You can change the trim tab anodes and the engine trim above the propeller with the boat in the water. The engine transom bracket would be really hard to do while the boat's in the water. So when you pull the boat out or put it on a trailer, or haul it out, that's usually when you do the anodes. I also recommend aluminum. I've got a really good video on anodes in more detail. If you're interested in that, go ahead and click right here. Bottom paint, figure that to be it's approximately $3,500 every 2 to 3 years. You'll need to do that. You know, PSC Marine in Everett does really good work for bottom paint. There's two types of paint. There's the paint that goes on the fiberglass, and there's a different kind of bottom paint that goes on the outboard. And I do recommend, if you're in the water a lot, that you bottom paint what they call the nose cone, which you can see here in the top right on the Yamaha outboard, as well as the engine transom bracket. There are different types of bottom paint between the two. So if you're interested in understanding more about bottom paint, we've got another video on that. Go ahead and click right here. And also on our website, letsgochannelsurfing.com, if you go to boat maintenance, you'll see bottom paint, and you can there's links to our videos there, as well as additional information on what kind of bottom paint and you know, what to expect. Because the R27 outboard's a trailable boat and it's a fast boat, it needs more of a hard ablative paint rather than your conventional soft type. So there's a lot of things to understand with bottom paint. It's not as simple as painting your living room. Maintenance on the boat. I've got a lot of this stuff documented again on our website, letsgochannelsurfing.com. Click on boat maintenance, and then you'll see the Yamaha F300. I do all my own routine maintenance. You know, every 500 hours, I'll take the boat into a Yamaha dealer and have it serviced. They do, you know, engine cylinder compression tests. I'm not going to do my own timing belt. I'll pay them to do that. You know, and I have a 6-year warranty on the Yamaha, so I want to see a dealer so they can download the stats and stuff off the engine to give me some good insight there how I'm running the boat. But generally speaking, you know, oil filter, fuel filter, spark plugs, thermostats, the lower unit oil, and then grease for the steering. It costs me about $250 a year on parts. I usually go to Yamaha Parts Online or PartsView.com to order that stuff at a discount. Full service shops, I would recommend. I get folks that ask me, if you don't want to work on your own boat, where would you take it to? I would take it either to PSC Marine out of Everett, or I would go up to Tom and Jerry's Boat Center up in Mount Vernon. Both of them do really good work on Yamaha engine stuff. And then the lower unit, the impeller should be replaced annually. It's about $60 just for the impeller. And then every 3 years or 300 hours, whichever comes first, the entire water pump should be replaced, which is there's a kit they sell. It's about $240 for the impeller kit. These prices are do-it-yourself. I've not paid a marine shop to do this. I do it on the tailgate of my truck out here at Dagmar's. It's not too tough, but I will say it is a little bit more challenging than just changing the oil to do the lower. And then ceramic coating, I highly recommend that you get the boat ceramic coated. I mean, it is an additional cost, but you will spend a lot less time cleaning and a lot more time boating. We come back from taking the boat out. I just rinse the boat off with fresh water and I walk away from it. The freshwater rinse, with the ceramic coating, the salt water doesn't want to stick to the hull at all. Keeps things looking clean and shiny. So we've got several good videos on ceramic coating. So go ahead and click right here if you're interested in that. And also visit premierceramiccoating.com for additional information there. And recommended upgrades for your boat. So battery monitor to tell you where you sit with your house bank. That's the battery bank that we abuse the most on our boats. If we're at anchorage or we're at a dock, it's basically like a fuel gauge for your house battery bank. A battery monitor should actually save you money in that you won't sulfate and destroy your house battery bank as often. Once you can see that you're on empty, to stop using it. Solar upgrade of about 400 watts is what works well on these boats. You can be almost energy independent with about 400 watts on the boat during boating season. We get so much sunshine out here. That's why I can go to a dock, and if they're charging for shore power, I can say I don't need it, and I'll just run off of solar. An anchor upgrade, Rockna 10, I highly recommend. If you're going to do any kind of anchoring, the boat comes with a Lumar Claw. The Rockna 10 is way better than Lumar Claw. I've never had the Rockna 10 drag on me. I don't think a Rockna 15, I get asked questions about, should I do a Rockna 15 instead? They think more weight. The boat comes with 50 feet of 5/16 high test chain. That's about 50 pounds of chain. Right, so the Rockna 10 at what's it, 23 pounds, I think it is plenty for the setup. The 50-foot of chain on the Rockna 10 is an awesome setup on this boat. I recommend Premier Custom Ceramic coating for the boat to keep it looking shiny and also less time cleaning. I also recommend the PowerTech SC5 Modified Channel Surfing Edition, which just came out. It's a good blend of miles per gallon, which is extended range between fuel docks, mid-range cruising. If you want to do 12, 13, 15 miles an hour, the boat can do it. Reverse thrust is improved, hole shots improved, just all makes the boat all around better to drive and operate. And then lastly, I recommend a smart plug. And if you're not checked out, I have a video on the smart plug. Go ahead and click right here. And the smart plug just makes plugging in shore power that much easier and safer. So do a quick summary on this. So you've got the purchase price of the boat. I'll let you guys figure that out. That's just your normal, loan calculator and interest rates and down payments and stuff. Moorage, plan to spend $350 to $800 a month, depending whether you're covered, uncovered, dry dock, dry stack, and also location matters too. These rates are all specific to Pacific Northwest with what I see other marinas and stuff charging. Insurance, which is full coverage and liability on the boat, is going to run $1,100, $1,200, $1,300 a year. It's been going up every year since we've had the boat. I've never had a claim against it. It's just expensive. Registration. So this is Washington State. I'm down to about $700 a year. Every year for me, it keeps declining because the boat's now almost 5 years old. But initially, like I said, when a brand new boat, it'll start at $1,000, $1,100 roughly right up in there for Washington State. Your state's obviously going to vary if it's not Washington. Fuel, I plan to spend about $4,000 a year, maybe more, maybe less, depending how much you use the boat. Haul out will generally run $300 to $700, depending where you do it. Some shops, have deals worked out where the haul out, is kind of included in the shop bill and at a reduced rate. So call around on that. Maintenance, I spend about $500 a year on doing the annual maintenance on the engine. It's about $1,500 plus if you were to have a shop do the work. Here and again, I do most of my own work on the boat, on the engine. Bottom paint will run about $3,500, and it's every 2 to 3 years. It depends on the boat. If it's a trailer boat, you can just draw a line to the bottom paint. You won't need it. Me being a Dagmars, I probably won't need bottom paint again for a very, very long time, if ever. And then also plan for things to break. The marine environment, especially saltwater, is very hostile. Things corrode, things vibrate, and they're going to break. So make sure you put some money aside for that every year. With that, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you guys, and thanks for watching.
If you enjoyed watching this video, click the screen to watch another.